think we're only missing one, and I don't know if she's gonna make it. I haven't heard, but why don't we get started? So I'd like to call the meeting to order at 5:35. Scituate Council on Aging Board of Directors on Thursday, April 8th, 2021. We could do a roll call, but maybe I'll just loop around. It's hard to loop around my screen because everybody else has got a different screen, but why don't we run around and do very brief introduction by name, and then we'll we'll move on. So I'm JD Miller, the chairman of the board.
I'm Susan Burbidge Kelly, vice chair of the board.
Sorry. Linda Hayes, director of the Senior Center and Council on Aging.
Laurie Brady, board member.
Janice Lindblom, board member.
Pat Carlton, board member.
Marie Fricker, board member.
Leslie's
Leslie,
muted.
you're on mute. You're on mute.
I am, okay.
Oh, Leslie is. There he
Okay,
is.
Leslie James, board member.
Very good.
Hey, Leslie.
Elaine Shambari, Foss, liaison.
Gordon Price, Chair of Build a Campus.
Barbara Karen.
Barbara
John?
McFadden, associate.
Karen Canfield, select board liaison to your board.
Joan Powers, South Shore Elderly Services.
Okay, so did we get everybody? I think we did for our roll call. Okay, very good. So I don't have any new news at the moment, so why don't we hop right into, well, we want to take a look at our meeting minutes from last month, which, thank you, Marie, they were very good.
They-
Everybody-
Told you, they read like a novel.
I know they were excellent.
You have to really take your time.
If you could just take a minute or two to read the minutes, and then we'll follow through with edits or approvals.
Well, they were great.
Does anyone have any comments, edits to our March board 2021 minutes?
Just comment that they were excellent and very thorough.
Thank you, Pat.
Agreed. So can I have a motion to approve the March minutes?
I move that we approve the March minutes, accept March minutes.
And a second, maybe Leslie will go with you.
Second,
Very good. So let's do a quick roll call. Lori,
Agree. Here.
Janice,
Yes.
Pat,
Yes.
Susan,
Aye.
Leslie,
yes,
Marie,
Yes,
and I also approve. So we have a unanimous approval of our minutes. Very good. We can turn over to Linda for her director's report, and everybody, again, maybe has that on a file someplace. So if you'd like to
Well,
follow.
Oh, really? I'll mention everything, albeit briefly. You'd think I wouldn't, well, not to say it wouldn't have anything to do, but as far as official business goes, you would think I wouldn't. But yet, once I start talking or writing, there is a lot, I guess.
It's hard to cut
Going
you off.
on.
Yeah.
But for the
We've learned
last, for the last week, I guess, it's been sort of our unofficial soft doors are open at the site. You know, it's substantially complete in official terms, but there is still a lot going on. And sometimes the parking lot has a lot of trucks in it still, especially with the landscaping coming in, the plantings. And then, you know, Monday, Tuesday this week was a little bit quiet. But people have been dropping in. That's not a problem. I think it probably warrants having a volunteer, a couple of volunteers, and maybe having some people step in, which we'll talk about later. But we've given guided tours for some of the stakeholders, FOSS board members. But anyone who comes in, honestly, is welcome to do that and walk around. Our town meeting, as you may know, is this next Monday, May 12th. Which is, will include a budget approval, and that includes, of course, my request for the new kitchen food service position and startup funds for the kitchen.
April 12th, did you say?
April
Yeah.
12th, I meant to say
Like
that.
you said, May 12th.
And it is in the high school gymnasium. We have been continuing with the AARP volunteer tax aid program, which really I think has gone well. We've had 91 participants up to this point. Since they did extend the deadline into May, we extended our own about a week. So up through next Wednesday, which technically if somebody heard this and wanted to give a call, we may still be able to get them an appointment if they had their paperwork all ready to go. But I think that was a successful first year. So very happy. The volunteers are tremendous, especially the lead volunteer. We had to relocate them a couple of times from the community building, which, as you know, is empty and gives them plenty of space to meet and work. But also they ended up using our old building because that's wide open as well. So it worked out when we did have to relocate, especially given the relocation. The reason for the relocation was for the vaccination clinic. So anything for the COVID vaccination. Interviews, we have just started interviewing for the activities, both the activities and the outreach coordinator positions. Myself and Bob Clark are doing the first round, and then I will enlist JD and Susan to continue with the second interview for finalists. We have another new van driver. We really, as you noted, as you knew, we're down to one driver. Then he had to go out on medical as had our other driver. And then we hired a new driver, really just in the nick of time. But then, so still only had one new driver. And so now we had other interest, and she's lovely. So we have another new woman driver who is just beginning her training. But has been out on the road with Mike, and I think she'll be great. So that is a big help, even though it's just part-time and she's available 1 or 2 days a week, beginning more so in May. I met with the Scituate Pride Committee on Zoom a few weeks ago, maybe a couple weeks ago. So that was really nice. They are a group of individuals promoting more inclusion and understanding and awareness of the LGBTQ plus population. And that is something, frankly, that the Senior Center, as a welcoming place for all, is interested in also supporting and inviting. So any opportunities we may have to work together or to start to implement some activities, you know, with them in mind, will be very welcome. So that was a nice meeting. Also, we had a department.
Can I interrupt to ask, is that, and Karen, you might know the answer to this, but is Scituate Pride the same as the Scituate Inclusion Committee?
No, completely
No.
separate.
Okay, two different things.
Pride is a I don't know if they're actually officially registered, but they're an independent organization working to advance human rights. DEI is a board advisory group charged with reviewing our policies and procedures. And there's overlap between the two, but they're separate.
Okay.
In
Okay.
fact, member-wise, even I think there's
Yeah, that's
member.
why I know it's definitely front of mind, but the DEI their job is to look at how we do governance and all of that stuff. You know, our policies in place. Are we being as inclusive as possible? Pride is working to is an advocate group on behalf of this population, just like you guys are the Council on Aging, or I mean, you're advisory to the board. but then you've got Gordon and Foss doing their thing.
Mhm.
Same kind of thing. A lot of overlap, but separate.
Okay,
And that said, I included it in my minutes, but we had a department head meeting this week, not minutes, sorry, notes, regarding the DEI committee, and especially it's timely for my interviews. For instance, the HR department is receiving the applicants' resumes, cover letters, and redacting the name and contact information, so that really we're reviewing them blind, just in terms of qualifications and knowing nothing else really about the individual until we want to contact them. So that's
What's
one.
the DEI stand for?
Sorry, diversity,
Diversity,
equity, and
equality,
inclusion.
diversity, equality, inclusion,
Diversity, equity,
equity, okay.
and inclusion.
And I knew that when I used the acronym in my report, but I just figured I'll tell them when it comes time, but I didn't remember either. So I don't know who noticed that, we didn't actually send a March newsletter. I meant to, and, I thought I would get to it, and it may be a little late, or maybe we'd sort of adjust the schedule a little bit, but as it stands, we did not get it out. So we are positioned now to get one out. We hope it will be early enough, mailed early enough and received to include a little toward the end of April and some of this news, so to speak, but then also into May and into June, much as we can foresee and predict, because as you know, it's kind of a moving target, what we're able to do and maybe trying to plan, but one doesn't know, and we don't know everything yet. So just that's in explanation for my tardiness on the newsletter. I did try to keep up with some emails, but we have had a lot going on, particularly with the COVID-19 vaccination requests and what assistance we have been able to give. So nicely enough, Scituate was able to do a fairly substantial clinic on March 25th, for which we were able to get a little lead time to sign up, a good 60, maybe a few more of our older adults who we had on a list. It was a much greater list, but in fact, our efforts had to include phone calls to all our 285 or so individuals who said they needed assistance, but some calls resulted in, no, I'm all set, I got it. So, we really had to sift through all of that, ended up making, as I said, at least 60 of the appointments. And, it's not a quick task making those appointments. So anyway, it was lovely talking to all those people. It was lovely.
Well, the help that you've given people in the community, because it's not been easy to get.
It's not been easy.
And schedule.
There are some, still some outliers, but now it's funny because we have to do it again to at least all the people we already helped, because now we have to make the second appointments for them for April 27th. So, we're trying to fit in a few of those a day and still getting calls, unfortunately, but I will admit that help beyond what we've been able to do when we know about the appointments has been minimal. But maybe shortly we can gear up. It was also nice that the Housing Authority last Monday and Tuesday, or Tuesday and Wednesday, did a door-to-door vaccination with the fire department EMTs. So they had sent out notice, they got signups, and the EMTs went door-to-door just to give those individuals in the housing developments their shots.
Awesome.
Was that the Johnson & Johnson?
It was not. So I'm assuming it was the same Moderna shot that was brought to the clinic. I don't know that for a fact, but I assume it was.
But still,
I just want to interject one thing. While you're talking about the vaccines, I mean, you may already know this, but I was in the CVS yesterday, and they have the CVS right in Scituate has started giving out vaccines.
What do you know? Did not know that.
I just thought I would point that because they didn't really advertise it or publicize it. They should have a big sign outside, front and back.
Well, maybe, but I mean, at least presumably, if you are going on that CVS site and looking at those Massachusetts locations, suddenly it's there, I guess. Wow.
Right.
Well,
So I just thought I would mention it. The other thing is, Linda, would it be helpful to you if we shared your minutes on the screen to everybody? Would that be helpful? Because I can do that. It's up to you
Anybody?
and up to everyone.
You want that? I mean, are you looking at them now in front of you, either way?
Yeah, I mean, I am, but I don't know if everybody else is, so.
Well.
I just thought I would throw that out as an
interesting.
option.
They're not so interestingly laid out, so maybe next time if I do it a little differently. But let Susan know if you would like it, that is fine with me too. I will then just mention regarding programs and activities, you know, it's just the same as it has been with no changes up to this point, but we can start to look at changes toward the end of the month. Will be more substantially furnished. Drew Shealy, our health department director, has, you know, given me the green light in terms of partial numbers inside the building, half basically for most of the rooms, but nicely enough also, we will have some outdoor furniture and we have the multi-purpose room, the banquet room for those who have seen it. So there is good large space to spread out for maybe being able to invite some smaller groups. So I do have that in mind. At this time, yoga is still on Zoom and I would start with them, but.
Can I interrupt again?
Oh, sure.
If you're, I mean, are we required to disinfect after people have left?
Yes. I mean, the guidelines are still the same. It's masks,
you?
it's 6 foot social distancing.
That's all you to run around to every machine, every chair, every desk, table and wipe it down?
Well, every chair and table that's used, yes, yes. Oh, machine, if we do exercise, yeah,
And at half capacity?
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you able to do that?
Well, it wouldn't be complete. So in other words, you know, that it's something to consider. I think I mentioned at some point in the report that we'll just look at the schedule and see what's viable initially and just start very slowly. And it could be that, you know, not everyone is interested. It could be just outside. You know, if we say the book club could meet, it could be on the patio.
Yeah.
So it's that kind of thing, very tentatively and very, not to say selectively, but only certain groups kind of meet the criteria of what we could do for them.
Okay.
However, that said, Bob Jackman's willing to do a little bit of a hybrid. So he's been, as you know, recording a narrated PowerPoint that he sends to me. I convert to a video. I upload to Google. I send to Seth. He has to convert it to SCTV. There's just so much behind the scenes that is involved in getting that out to people. And instead, so he's willing to come in to do a class to maybe 6 or 7 people in the room, but also Zoom it out to others that we can record and play on SCTV. So it's something we've just talked about, and it would be an experiment that we will test first, but that's something that we are planning to try to do.
Does it make a difference if people are fully vaccinated in your plans for having activities there?
Not at this time, as far as I'm concerned. I haven't received any sort of mandate or edict on that. And I just feel that the guidelines are in place just as they would be if no one had been vaccinated. So at this point, we would be careful and we would be safe, but it shouldn't make a difference, actually. But that could change, like I said, Barbara, if others have issue with that, or Drew has another reason to say that. And then I did postpone or cancel one Zoom presentation that I had hoped to do in March, but it was just too chaotic. And then we had one scheduled for tomorrow, but I postponed to the end of April. And what I could do is have some people that don't do Zoom come into the big room, and we could, I hope the audio visual would be ready for this. We could put the Zoom on the screen and actually see her zooming in from New Mexico on the fall prevention, or she's the physical therapist that talks about finding your balance. She's great. So
saying project the Zoom meeting on the screen.
Right.
Absolutely.
And there'd be faces from home, potentially. There'd be hers, and then there'd be a small group watching from the senior center.
Yeah.
So those are just some ideas of ways we could work things out to start to return. Pickleball's been continuing outside, of course, and it will, as long as they can, but that will become an issue I hate to say it, they've been playing pickleball outside all winter and really for a year almost. But because the youth group that plays tennis on those courts in the summer or once school ends will take those courts over, that may become a scheduling issue, but we will cross that bridge when we come to it. And I think the exercise classes that have been meeting in the gym, for the most part, want to continue meeting in the gym because they really can have more people and they really can spread out. And they assume they'll just move outdoors as that becomes possible. And we can use the wonderful field behind us with the crosswalk that actually goes from the parking lot into the field or to the field. We just need to get permitted for that through recreation. So we have options, which is great, so wonderful. So transportation, there is some news regarding that. So you know about the new van coming and it should be delivered mid to late June. But we also received notice from the Department of Transportation that because they received some provisions or appropriations from the FTA or allowed through an FTA article, that they are now willing to allocate 100% of the cost of that van, and we are no longer having to provide matching funds. I know, it was like, what? That was great. So we should have, for the approximately $65,000 van, we were appropriating 13 to 14,000, and now we're not. So
Excellent.
they are footing the whole bill on that, which is very cool. So we were given a $20,000 donation in 2019 that we were using for that. So we do have some money, whether, how it's used in particular for transportation or otherwise remains to be seen.
Linda, what does FTA stand for?
Federal Transit Authority. A lot of acronyms on that end.
And Linda, before you move on, I think I asked you this offline a while back. Are we going to be able to have the sloop loop come through the parking lot?
Yes, so I have been in touch with them, so they do know about it, and so they will. Obviously, they may still have been stopping at the old senior center, so I had to tell them that anyway. They'll stop here. They had suspended stopping at Central Park because of the Lawson Green development, so they really hadn't been aware that it was open now and they could come back. So they now know about that. And then, so Joanne La Ferreira is their sort of customer service person. She's their ADA coordinator. And she's got some thoughts about maybe changes or proposals they might make for Scituate, not necessarily regarding what we do per se. But so we've invited her to our next meeting to chat a little bit about what GATRA could be doing or some new options or suggestions. So she's interesting. I thought we might like to hear from her. She's not the executive director, but she's someone we work with quite a bit, and people do call her when they have issues or concerns.
And she's scheduled for next month.
For next month. Don't let me forget. Anyway. So also with regard to van service as able, since we only have the one driver, but obviously also Social Community Action Council, we're looking at the parameters that we've been living with for the last year and maybe expanding a little bit so that if we did have something here that somebody needed a ride to, we could do that. We have restricted it just to 4 people on the van. We could probably go to 6. But, we'll take that really under consideration for each of the requests, I suppose. Also, outreach, I will mention a wonderful, I think it turned out great. It was a great event. I don't know if anyone came to the shredding and dumpster event. I never worked so hard in my life, but it was amazing because there were people lined up at 8 a.m. when I got there, and the shredder was supposed to be there for 9 o'clock.
A lot of people in Scituate have a lot of junk that they needed to get rid of.
Well, there were 25 carts for the shredding alone before the truck got there. But then also the cars had to be, funneled, navigated through something to get to the dumpsters that they were using for that. And I mean, it was just non-stop from 8 in the morning, or officially 9, to 1 o'clock that afternoon. And I could not move a muscle after that. It was crazy.
Wow.
I will testify, I was in line.
Well-
And Linda did a fabulous job. I pulled up, she didn't recognize me and I didn't
I know,
recognize
nobody
her.
knew, everybody had their masks.
Masks and everything else. But I think it's just what I would call the COVID clean out.
Well, that was sort of the idea behind thinking it would be a good event or a good community offering, which it was, which it truly was. So hopefully we can do it every year. It was expensive, and as it turned out, we needed a second shredding truck, which we didn't anticipate because who would have known? We shredded 5.6 tons of paper. That's a lot. So we had to wait for the second truck. It didn't get completely filled, but it was, it was pretty close.
So Linda, is there a way with all the shredded paper and recycling and all that, is there a way for the senior center to get any monies from that?
I think there is a business that does that. This is not that business. They do recycle the paper that they use. Of course, that's probably what, a benefit to them. There is some place that does that. It's a thought, but it might mean a dumpster that we don't necessarily have a place for, but it could. So we could look into that.
Yeah, it might be a way to raise some money and all the scrap metal and everything that was thrown into the dumpsters.
But we did pay, almost a third of the cost between the shredding trucks and then times 2 and the dumpsters. But we split that, of course, with Scituate Community Christmas and Sands, who are paying their way as well, and maybe a little bit more than us. But it was great.
I got your announcing the program, Linda, by the phone.
Yes.
Friday night.
Well, I panicked a little bit, like, boy, I did want to make sure enough people knew about it. I don't know if I'd had to worry about that at all, given the turnout, or if my call was to make the turnout. I don't know, but thank you. Good. I hope it was okay. I really don't love the idea of my voice going out to 5,000 or 3,000 or 2,000 people. It's just weird. Okay, so building construction. So the second round of furnishings that had been delayed is scheduled to be delivered on April 22nd, which is still nearly 2 weeks away, or 2 weeks from today, actually.
2 weeks. From
So, that's a fair amount. It's our 160 multi-purpose room chairs. So that's significant enough. But then there are some miscellaneous items, certainly. And our desks, frankly, are the biggest item in that shipment, because we're only, we're not even really moved in. We're living out of boxes because our desks are not complete. So we can't put anything in them, even though we have things on them. So we've been living a little bit haphazardly here. Foss did purchase for us the patio furniture for the senior center in the back. That is actually coming tomorrow and being assembled. So that's really good news, because that just affords us more outdoor space for people to linger if they want to here, and even maybe meet in small groups. So that's
Great.
Exciting. The exercise equipment, if anyone hasn't been in, is here, installed, tested. It's beautiful, just sitting there waiting to be used. Our IT equipment is still ongoing. The doors, for instance, the push buttons don't work yet. The electricians are coming Friday and Monday, tomorrow and Monday, to sort of hopefully complete that process. We have gone to the scan cards instead of the manual key to get into the building, and that's working. Right now, the doors open automatically at 8:30 and close automatically at 4:30. We will adjust those once we are open, so that if people are coming in early or for yoga at 8:30, at 8:15, then we need to have the doors open for that, etc. So we'll be able to adjust or override.
So Linda, we're not set up for example, for my senior center yet, are we?
My senior center is up and running, actually. Yes, that's easy. You just move the machine, plug it in, and it works. So
Okay.
yes,
So
people
you
could
come in
scan.
and log in.
We've made a few new scan cards for the people who have ventured in. They were not necessarily previous patrons, so they have new scan cards.
So
if we
Linda,
have
can I
time.
just ask a question on this? Because I've had a number of people come, ask me, so is this, like you mentioned that the fitness equipment is just ready to roll and waiting for people to use it. So is there going to be some kind of you know, promotional push to let the community know that the senior center is open, or are you still sticking with a soft opening? I mean, what's the answer to the question when people say to me,
The answer
"Is the
to that
senior
is at
center
the
open
end,
yet?"
either at the end of my report or at the end of the agenda, we can discuss what we might propose to do to make
Okay,
it,
that'd be
when
great.
it's time to
Thank
be more official. Because right now, no, right now it's the soft, and right now we're not allowing people to do that yet, but as soon as we think we have that opportunity, or it's equal so that people can do it and everyone's, you know, got the same opportunity, then we'll start to schedule that. So it's a little iffy, but we'll talk about that in a minute. Audio visual, I'll just mention, you know, we've been installing that. That was, as you might remember, a separate contract. So they've been great, but you know, it's a high tech item, and there's a lot going on. So we really, once we got them in, realized for more complete functionality for the display units, AKA TVs, but not smart TVs. So, you know, now we're installing, which we always had at the other senior center. So I knew I would probably want that, but the Apple TV device is really necessary for us to be able to stream or cast from our own or instructors' mobile devices when they come in. So, and we decided kind of at the last minute, maybe I was being a bit fuddy-duddy, low tech, but I wasn't doing cable on every TV. But now we put cable into 4 of the units, because you just never know. This past year has shown us that. So we actually are going to the PBC next week with a few change orders to get the Apple TVs installed. And of course that involves more significant wiring and adding a port and blah, blah, blah. So there's a little bit more to do for them, but they've got the multi-purpose room projector and screen in, and all the display units are in their place. I'm still waiting to move the old equipment up here and put that in the conference room, just because we're waiting for wiring to make that possible. So that's been kind of an ongoing thing, because there's a lot to learn and understand when these people talk. There just is. And we did decide we wanted to have as much functionality as we could get now, because it'll grow with us really into the future, I think. I'm also completing the kitchen order and submitting to the PBC next week for their approval so that I can make that order. We will be having Boston's best coffee for our commercial coffee makers. That will be here next Wednesday. So by next Thursday morning, we can make real official coffee.
And just PBC, Public Building Commission?
Yes, it is, dear. Thanks. We are supposed to be receiving training on the interior lighting situation, sensors, non-sensors, you know, it's a big building. Everything's been fine. There's just some questions still on exactly what we should expect or can do or can't do. And the exterior lighting, you know, has been fine, but there's still been questions on the brightness or the necessity of the brightness, or what time they should go off, or if they should go off, because the security of the building is still part of the question. So Mark Thompson, Chief of Police, was with us yesterday in a meeting. So we're just going to experiment with, you know, exterior building lights versus parking lot lights, 9 p.m. going off, dimming or not dimming, and just seeing what the best approach is to the exterior lights. So that's an ongoing work. And then punch list items continue. The OPM and contractor have moved into our building because the food pantry moved into their space. So they are in there working on that. That space has been, you know, cleared, and they're working on their stuff. Someone from the Water Resource Development Commission or committee here in town came to ask me what we would be doing for sort of outdoor watering, and was recommending rain barrels. And I was going to order them, but really it just got too complicated and they went kind of fast. And it's hard for me to order things like that through the town with purchase orders. So we'll see. I don't know if I'll get them right now. They were a great idea, I guess. We'll probably have to use volunteers to help us do some watering, but also the plantings are supposed to be very low maintenance. So I'm not sure how much watering will really be required or even allowed if we end up in a drought situation. So that sort of remains to be seen, but we're also talking with the Beautification Commission about some things they might want to do here as well. So that's my report. And we can talk more about plans for, some sort of ceremony or opening at the end of the meeting if you want, JD.
Very good. Does anyone have any questions for Linda? That was.
Well, this
Sure.
isn't necessarily a question for Linda. I mean, thank you, Linda. That was really informative. I guess one of my questions is, is there any news yet on what's going to happen with the old building and or the community building?
That would be not necessarily a question for Linda, yes.
So is that a perfect segue into Karen Canfield?
It probably is, yeah.
It's on my list, but I have a question before we leave director. Is the to me, the Beautification Commission and your work, there's such an opportunity there because, what beautification basically is folks sign up to adopt a lot, whatever. And it makes perfect sense that visitors to the senior center might want to say, oh, I go every Tuesday, Thursday. I'm going to go half an hour early and adopt a lot kind of thing. That there's a marriage there that would, I think, be a no-brainer and really good for both groups.
You're right. Very good point.
Also, would the garden club be involved here at all?
I guess we'll start with
Beautification's got a well-oiled machine is the
They
thing.
do. They do. And we have had, people that we've somewhat recruited or were volunteers for us that we, sent over to the Beautification Commission to do the harbor watering the last couple of summers. So, most of them do look out for us too. So we'll see. I think we're on their radar and I think they do want to do something. I know they do. So we will hope for that to happen. That would be great.
Any chance of there being a community vegetable garden?
Oh, I would love that. And remains to be seen once we see what's left of land, I guess. Yes,
I
I
think
would
that
love
would be
that.
an awesome community
Susan,
project.
I gotta jump in and tell you because I'm so excited about this, not for this site, but we have all of that conservation land on the west end.
Mhm.
And one of the things that, the folks that do Holly Hill
Yes, Holly Hill Farm, yeah.
and our farmers market and over at, I'm forgetting the name of it now, over by Man Hill, where we have these community gardens.
Yep.
They are about to announce the formation of a massive community garden project over there.
Nice.
So the first year, it's like you sign up, there's no, because they have to clear the site basically. It's kind of gone fallow. It was agricultural originally. So
That's nice.
they've grabbed the horns on that one and
Yeah.
they'll be rolling it out shortly, but the intent is this summer. Lots
Very
of
good.
community spots over there. So,
Wow, that will be awesome. Thank you for sharing that. That
yeah,
would
do
be
have a
amazing.
young-
You'll hear more about it, but that's they're in the deep into the planning
That's
of
nice.
that.
That's really great. We do have a young man, a young Eagle Scout who has proposed to do a standing herb garden for us. So he's coming tomorrow to sort of locate it, which will be great, and then he'll build it. And then maybe we'll find a place for a smaller, I would call ours more of a kitchen garden type thing, but something that we could use to support, the kitchen
Awesome.
meals.
Awesome.
Linda, some of this
one
falls
of
in
the-
under Live Well Scituate. Mark it down.
Yeah. One other thing I just wanted to throw out to everybody, and I don't know where it fits in, but having to do with, and Linda, you mentioned in your report that, the whole issue of seniors that are not comfortable with technology. There are a lot of seniors that live in different parts of the town that have really poor connectivity. Maybe can't even afford internet because Comcast is so expensive. And there are many seniors that don't have smart devices like Chromebooks and so forth. And there is a program. This is a well-kept secret, which I wanted to bring up to everybody on the board.
Mhm.
And if I can just real quickly, very quickly, just share the screen. So this is a program that's being offered by the state. Not a whole lot of people know about it. It's called Mass Internet Connect. And basically, the state is partnering with Mass Hire and with Comcast and Verizon. And anyone that is an unemployed job seeker that is confronted with technology barriers can qualify to get subsidized free internet connection as well as free Chromebooks. So there are a lot of seniors, and I just wanted to bring this up because I was in an info session last week, and it's just, so just in terms of anyone coming to the senior center who may not have a device, so they may not be able to take advantage of some of these Zoom classes or Zoom presentations. And they also are going to provide free classes in digital literacy to help people learn how to use Zoom and so forth. And it's all free. All that you need to do is have them contact a mass hire, and there are 29 mass hire centers. So I just wanted to throw that out to everybody. So even if you know somebody in your community or a relative or anyone that is really, being hindered during COVID with not having a device, and they're giving out free Chromebooks and fully refurbished laptops. So it's a great program that no one knows about because Mass Hire hasn't figured out how to do marketing, but that's a whole nother story altogether.
Susan, are they loaners or are they just giving them?
Well, the Chromebooks are, I believe that they're free and you get to keep them. The subsidized free internet and those kinds of things are only good through June 30th. This is what the state does all the time. It's a limited window, but then even afterwards, you have a significantly reduced bill if you go forward with that. I can actually forward to the board the presentation. I just got it. They sent out a copy of the slide deck, and I can send it out to Linda and to everybody else so that you can maybe help other people take advantage of this. Because again, it's like, I can't tell you the number of people in the 50+ job seekers that, have to dial in for the workshops, which is less than ideal, right? Because you can't participate, you can't really see the slide decks and all that. So this is a pretty wonderful thing, and I'm hoping that we can convince them to continue it beyond June 30th. They always throw out these little teasers, but I'll send the slide deck and the information to Linda and to everybody else on the board.
Great.
Anybody else have anything before we now segue to Karen?
It's my segue? Okay.
Yes.
Sorry, my roommate came home. I had to get my pods in. So I was really excited. Last week I got to tour. Was it last week, Linda? I think I came
Yeah.
and did a tour. Time's sort of flexible now. And I had high expectations, but I got to tell you, I hadn't been since construction really exceeded my expectations so much. The building's phenomenal. So kudos to everybody on that. One thing you mentioned, the Pride group and stuff, one thing that I think you guys are going to have to put in the back of your mind when we are open, when we can convene, all that stuff, you are going to be inundated with people wanting to use that space for meetings, events, that sort of thing. So I would just sort of recommend that, you put it on an agenda in the future. I mean, obviously that's not going to happen right away, but it is going to happen.
I agree. And that actually involves you, because I think the Board of Selectmen needs to sort of approve, what do we charge people? How do we, how
all
do we
that
do
stuff.
that?
Right, but it's coming.
How
So
do we extend hours for the building?
yeah, I mean, I think it's inevitable that we'll extend hours because, I mean, I walked into the big room and I was like, oh my goodness, you could have a wedding here. It's
Yeah.
And, we can't ignore the fact that we have this great asset. Obviously, Council on Aging takes first priority, but just know that's coming because the building's phenomenal.
And I think we want to do that. It brings more of the community into the building just for
Exactly.
exposure in general, but it is revenue and it's worthwhile. And if we don't, we don't mind. It's great.
So, and the other thing I want to say about the building and production, and you alluded to this, Linda, is that having been through a couple of construction projects with the town, we're going to do I'm going to introduce a new term, and Gordon will appreciate this, the punch list patience.
Because anybody that's ever done construction, even if you've done a, addition to your house, you think, oh, we're all done, it's all great. And then you're like, oh, the lights don't work. Oh, this doesn't work. It just takes a while to shake it down. So I just put that out there as not to be discouraged, because
It's true.
it isn't going to be perfect. It doesn't matter how good everybody is. So
Even something as simple as a yoga class seems like I'm not sure it would be working. You know what I mean?
Yep. So there's just a shakedown time, and it's going to be fine. And I wanted to really give a huge thank out to Linda and your staff and all the volunteers on the vaccine rollout.
Oh,
It was really important to the board that, we kind of got these bonus vaccines at the last minute. And, it would have been much easier just to do an open thing. And, our board felt really strongly that it's like, no, we need to get those to the people that are most vulnerable. And it was, as you said, it was a ton of work. And you don't see that behind the scenes stuff. So thank you for doing that. That was good. I do want to say that the food pantry movement has been delayed. There were some physical renovation kind of stuff that just had to be addressed. It's going to I think I didn't write down the date. I think it's now May. I don't know if you know, Linda.
oh, really? No, I didn't.
Might even be June, Karen.
Yeah, I know it's been delayed. It's just like punch list stuff.
That's tough to do. They're trying to rehab that whole space down there.
They're rehabbing the space, a pipe, stuff happened. So their lease is signed. We're working with them. They will be in there. Linda mentioned we have town meeting on Monday. Yay. We did have a forum, I think, last week with advisory, and Jim Bedreau did a slide deck. Kelly, talk about a slide deck presentation. Kelly, Susan, I always do that. I always want to call you Kelly Susan instead of Susan Kelly. He did a slide deck that just sort of
I answer
walked
to
through
anything.
how the budget's designed, how it's put together, because that's the lion's share of what we really need to talk about. There's a lot of other stuff. If you have questions about town meeting, I'm happy to answer them, but that's on Monday. It is in person at the high school.
Karen, how does the general public access town meeting?
You have to show up.
So it is in person.
It's in person. The state legislature has not provided us with an option of virtual.
Okay.
We were a representative town meeting, we could, but logistically, every person who's registered to vote in Scituate can vote. And so if we did it virtual, it would be, I don't know how you would do it. I mean, because if 500 people logged on, you'd have to check them against the voter logs.
Right.
So they've said, yeah, we're not doing that. So we have to show up in person. It's set up like the kids are using the gym as a cafeteria right now, so they can space out. So we're leaving it that way. So if you come with your family, you're going to sit at a cafeteria table. It's going to look different. And there's really not a whole lot on the warrant that is super controversial. So, and the goal is, like we've done for the last two, is to, get town business done and move on. So anyway, so that's on Monday.
Monday at the high school, right?
Monday at the high school, 7:00. I did want to tell you guys that we are going to, hopefully tomorrow, as soon as possible, we're going to be advertising for 3, I want a better word than internships, but basically summer internships.
Oh.
A lot of folks are like, oh, this would be great for college kids or whatever, but I think it is not something that it's open to anyone. And the 3 areas are, we need somebody in communications, which, would be somebody that's savvy in social media and get into all the committees that aren't as good as our community, that don't have their minutes in, and all that stuff. Charter review, we're at the point now where we basically need a paralegal. So somebody that's interested in really wonky stuff and can help consolidate sort of the deliberations of that committee, and also a general research person. So a matter comes before any of us, your board, my board, whatever. We're like, wow, we need somebody to really dig into that. We say, intern, could you go look this up? And they'll spend So that's about to launch.
Karen,
We just
can
have-
I just ask a question? I mean, would it be a paid internship? Is there a
No.
stipend?
No, unfortunately, we don't have the budget for that. It's just like all of us. It's, but, you know, college students, if they're looking for an internship or credit, we obviously will do whatever it is.
What
But for
about
sure, I wanted to tell
people in
you
the
in
50-plus
particular.
demographic? Would
Pardon
you
me?
consider a senior, somebody in the
Absolutely.
50?
That's why I wanted to tell you, and particularly because I knew you were going to be on this call, is, you know, you got somebody that's out of work that wants to build a resume, that whatever. It's not a bad way to go, and it's finite. And
Yeah, we just did a workshop, a panel event today on volunteerism as a pathway to purpose and
Yep.
employment. So can you send me the job descriptions?
yes, as soon as I get that out the door.
Okay, and we'll post them out there and we'll publicize it in our.
Yeah, it's coming, and I want to have a quick turnaround because, you know, for the student population in particular, if we don't get them hooked in, they're going to find other opportunities this summer. But honestly, you know, especially research and even
Yeah.
charter review, I would prefer to have a mature person that we can throw stuff at.
That will
that'll get it
show
done.
up.
That'll show up, get it done, doesn't need a lot of direction. You know, we're looking 15, 20 hours a week. It's not a full-time commitment, but it would certainly be a good resume builder if somebody's.
Yeah,
in
no,
between.
that's great. And Linda, speaking of job descriptions, I mean, are you still open to other candidates or are you pretty full deck with your?
Till we hire, yeah, sure, but we've started, so.
Okay.
Okay. And the last thing, which was my segue, was about selling buildings. So, you know, the asterisk under everything on my to-do list is after town meeting all the time. And so town meeting's on Monday. And because the market is so insane, we've directed the town administrator to, as soon as town meeting is over, to start the process of selling the Council on Aging building and the Minot Fire Station, which were approved at the last town meeting for sale.
Okay.
So that
Wow.
will be next week's project.
Okay.
So it's bittersweet, I know, but you guys are in such a
Tearing it
beautiful spot. It's a good opportunity for the town because the market's just nuts.
It is, yeah, it's probably doubled on the assessment or whatever it was, you know, initially.
yeah.
brought to
Yeah.
devalue that.
I think that, isn't Council on Aging it's the building is in a residential
It
district.
is, but I've been told it's oddly zoned, so I don't know if there's some mix of commercial and
Yeah,
residential zoning.
so we'll, after Monday, that's the sort of stuff we'll like, go, all right, let's pay attention to this. And
Good,
so-
okay, thanks.
I'd like to get
Karen,
that
can-
done. Yeah.
And just a couple of questions, speaking of buildings, are you at liberty to tell us what's happening with the building that's diagonally across from St. Mary's Church?
Oh, the
Is
old
it-
bank?
Yeah,
So that's been like the $1 million question, because I've been working with the EDC on a whole bunch of stuff for for the summer and all of that. And everyone's like, what's going on? So what I've heard unofficially, I haven't heard directly, what I heard unofficially from the chamber is it's like a WeWork. It will be a collaborative workspace.
oh, wow.
So
Okay.
I don't
Yeah,
know that officially, that's complete rumor, but that's the nearest I've gotten to an answer.
And what about Riva and Sylvia's?
So Riva, a new restaurant's coming in.
Oh, good. That's great news.
That is great news. And in Sylvia, the building was sold. So I have not heard, what's happened. She only left because they jacked up the rents.
Right.
So I have not heard, but I will, on that vein, I will let you know that EDC has been working really hard with the chamber and the merchants associations and the North Scituate Village merchants, and putting together sort of a comprehensive plan to support our business community in the summer, because we all know that's when we make hay here. And, I was on a call earlier today talking about regional efforts to try to make sure that, you think about Scituate every weekend when you're like, what do we do this weekend? So it's going to be presented to the board on the 27th. But the concept that looks like is developing is, instead of First Fridays, it's going to be every Friday. Wandering
Awesome.
entertainment. We're not going to close the street because the businesses are like, yeah, that was fine, but it really wasn't. Probably lose a couple parking spaces for outdoor seating for some of the restaurants. But, you know, juicing up the window boxes, doing like a real plan to
Wow,
say,
that's awesome.
yeah.
So you're
you
gonna
live
let
in
them
the region, you're
continue.
like, what are we gonna do this weekend? You think, well, they always have something going on in Scituate, and they come down.
Right, so so this outdoor
Yep.
with sidewalk dining and all that, that's
All
gonna
that
remain.
stuff, not closing Front Street because it actually creates some problems for the businesses, which is not the intent. But also like all of the events that we have always had that we'll be able to have most likely, you know, the car show and the bandstand and all of that.
Right,
We're going to put that all in a one-stop shop and then promote the heck out of it.
well, that's
And try to
awesome,
make sure that, you
that's
know,
fabulous.
Yeah, that folks know that if you, because we're not looking at this was the expression today. We're not looking to attract people from Ohio. We're looking for day trippers.
Yeah.
Because that's what's going to matter. It's like, we're all sick of our town, frankly, I'm not, but some of us are. And so we want, you know, the couple from Rockland to say, what do we want to do today? And they'll come over to Scituate because we have lots going on. So that's in the works, and
You should have Santa in the harbor every Friday.
right. Yeah, well, that's what they're all working on, those kind of things. All right. In the cone of silence, I know you're recording it. In the cone of silence, that's now going to be broadcast on YouTube. There used to be, Gordon, you probably remember this. There used to be in the harbor, like just outside the harbor, a sign that basically said, "Come into our harbor, come visit us." Let's do that again. So
That
the
would be
voters,
awesome.
why not? So all that
Karen.
stuff's on the table right now.
What's the
That's-
EDC stand for?
I'm sorry, Pat.
Develop.
I'm alphabet soup. Economic Development Committee.
Well, that's fabulous, exciting news. Thank you, Karen.
Yeah, I'm pretty stoked about that. But that's all I had. So,
Karen,
yep.
what's the next step post-survey on Pier 44 property? What do you guys have in mind?
Okay, he was not a plant. So the next step is and it's an asterisk after Monday. We're going to put together a nimble working group of appropriate people, which is not defined yet, to flesh out a number of options. The thinking is, you know, we got great feedback. We got over 1,000 people basically supporting what was said years ago.
Yeah.
About what people, like what the community wants that site to be. So the next step is to take those and present, sort of flesh out options, and then bring those specific options out to people, just like we did with the senior center location. If you just say, hey, do you want a senior center? Yeah, but you need to be able to say, do you want it here? Do you want this? Do you want that? So that's the next step, is to do a small subcommittee to flesh those out and bring it back to the public.
Great, great.
Anybody have any quick questions for Karen? Thank you for
Lots
hanging
of
out.
juicy news. Thank you.
The town gossip.
Yeah.
Let's go to South.
I got more of that, JD, but I'm not going to put it on the recording.
South Shore Elder Services, Joan.
Well, they came to the meals site, South Buildings came to the meals site and took new pictures of people if they wanted them, like mine was 20 years old. And they also gave us interesting cups with their logo and thanking people for volunteering. So that was nice. And they've also done vaccines for any of the volunteers that needed it.
Good.
And for workers, so that's been done.
Good.
Their construction is going on for their new space. It's going on schedule, and operations will be moving in, they hope, the last Friday in April.
Wow. Soon.
It's going to be much bigger than what they have now. And then they sent out a letter. She always sends out a letter. It was about the equality message for March, which was mainly because we have a big Asian community, especially in Quincy. So it was about the violence and hate crimes that are aimed at Asians. And so last month it was all about with the black issue and so this letter was about the Asian issue. And that's about it. We haven't had meetings. We just get literature through the mail.
Okay. Well, we all appreciate that. We need to be cognizant of not stepping on people's rights.
Jordan, can I just interject something very quickly? Speaking of underserved communities, I should have mentioned this. So the other thing I just want to throw out there for, anyone that might know somebody, I got some additional funding from the Executive Office of Elder Affairs to roll out a pilot program, with the 50+ job seekers. And we have developed, and we're rolling out starting on April 21st, a pilot workshop series that we're presenting in a bilingual modality. We're targeting the Latino communities. But the workshops are going to be presented in Spanish and English. So if anyone knows somebody that maybe is a 50+ job seeker or looking to re-enter the workforce that is being hindered by English proficiency, we're starting this new pilot program, and AARP is also throwing some money in for us to expand the program. So I just wanted to throw that out, speaking of minority groups.
Good. Okay. Thank you, Joan. Should I go to Elaine? Elaine, is there anything going on with FOSS?
Well, yeah, we got equipment, chairs and tables and construction of them happening tomorrow out at the senior center, the outdoor tables. We've also ordered umbrellas. They're coming from California. I'm not quite sure when they're going to get there. And tomorrow, when they're delivering the 6 tables and 12 chairs, I can't remember which is which, but I think these are the 12 armless chairs. They will be put together. The other chairs, the other 12 chairs that have arms are back ordered. So they're coming next week. But no increase in cost to us, which is very nice. So I think we're just about there with everything that we've promised. I mean, we still, I should mention after last week's month's meeting, we do have elections coming up. We do have candidates running for president and vice president. We don't have anybody for secretary. I don't know why people hate being secretaries, but that was very sarcastic, Susan. I know why people hate it. But anyway, so we are very much more optimistic than we were last month. So we will be continuing with FOSS and raising money for future events and future programs to be held in this gorgeous new senior center.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks, Elaine.
I have a quickie question to Linda. Do we need to secure the furniture on the patio?
Well, I don't know, Linda, we were talking, we have some
I don't know.
heavy duty.
I don't know.
This is heavy teak furniture. I
don't really think anyone
And-
will be able to walk
we're
away
a little
with it,
bit concerned that
but we will
going
look
to
at.
walk off with it, but I think that would be difficult. Unless, people can do things, they can accomplish that if they want to, but it's just.
Heard of it. Not to say it wouldn't happen, but we are working on making sure the security cameras out back and the lighting is sufficient to deter, I guess, anyone from being out there. Certainly if they were, they should be in view of the cameras so that hopefully they wouldn't get far and we would know what happened. So outside of tethering them or securing them in the, it's a concrete patio, I don't think that would be attractive or very helpful, just because then we're tripping over things and it's just not that.
Just
conducive.
remember to put the umbrellas down at night.
Yeah.
Right,
Well, those
right.
will need storage, the umbrellas, but not so much.
And the umbrellas are secured into a 35-pound lead weight
But I'm
underneath,
just saying with the winds
so
that
that
we
they
have,
won't
I don't know how
blow
the wind
over,
is.
but
They'll blow over if they're open. Yeah.
They
right,
will.
oh,
I've
definitely,
had that
definitely,
bad
yeah.
experience myself.
Okay, well, very good. We'll look forward to that. Gordon, what's going on with Build a Campus?
Before I say that, I'm glad Karen's still on, so. um, People are beginning to ask me, what are you going to do after this campaign is done on June 1st? So for my wife's sanity, to keep me away from the house as much as possible, I'd be happy to help you guys out with the Pier 44 project, Karen. So I'll throw my hat in on
I
that.
thought you were going to announce you were running for selectman.
No. Did you hear her say no?
Yeah, we are putting that together, and thank you, Gordon. I will definitely, I'm
You'll
writing
be
that
happy
down.
For the people who might be looking at this presentation online later, I want to say a big thank you to the people who have responded to our campaign. Elaine can correct me if I'm wrong, but we're somewhere very close to $170,000 as of yesterday. And I'm hoping that we'll add to that. We've got 6 more weeks basically to go in the campaign. And I'm just very thankful to the people who have stepped up to help out. We've had people from out of town who have made contributions. People who lived in Scituate, moved out of Scituate and heard about the project and made contributions. And the neat thing, I went through the building on a walkthrough with Linda and a couple of the Golders 2 days ago. And these are what I call young seniors. And I'm hearing from a lot of young seniors who want to be active in the center in the coming months, and young seniors who have made contributions. And so we're very, very thankful for where we are right now, and hopefully we'll add significantly to that in the next few weeks. So, other than that, we, in discussion with Linda, we decided on a place for the donor board. So anyone who donates to the Build a Campus fundraiser will be listed on a donor board, and it's going to be placed in the reception area. We're talking with the same company that did the library donor board. It'll be about half the size of the library donor board. We're significantly, less contributors. We'll end up probably about 200 contributors, I think. I think the donor board and library probably has 300 or 400, maybe more. So it'll be backlit like the lighthouse donor board in the library. So it's going to be very attractive. And I think with Linda's help, we've come up with a great location for it. So that's about it. We have contributions right now to just about every room. I think there's only one room left that doesn't have a contributor. And we actually have one room that has 5 contributors. So,
The fun room.
The jockeying for where can I put my contribution has been rather interesting. People are
We
just.
also got some help from veterans, right?
Yeah, we had a nice contribution a couple of days ago from a couple here in Scituate to the veterans suite, and that was great. And I think the only room that is left available that doesn't have a donor is the Peggotty room, which is interesting because it's a beautiful room up on the 2nd floor. But anyway, I'm sure somebody will step up to the plate. So thank everyone for helping, and it's been a lot of fun. We've enjoyed it, but we're looking forward to wrapping it up on May 31st. So.
Going sailing.
Very good. Does anyone else have any old business to move to? Or comments, etc.? Okay, very good.
I did have one other thing, JD. This popped in my mind a little bit ago when Linda was giving her presentation. Linda, what's the status with janitorial services in the center?
There's a position up for approval through the facilities department, so it'll be a shared full-time position between senior center and recreation.
In what?
And recreation.
Great. Thank you.
Good.
I just want to say,
Right.
I had mentioned the last meeting about doing a front page article in the South Shore and Metro West Senior News. on the new senior center, and I spoke to my editor, actually the publisher, and she's very gung ho about it. So I'm going to be doing that for the May edition. I already have planned to interview Linda on Monday, and I will need some quotes from maybe a couple of board members. And Gordon, I was thinking it would be great to get a quote from Foss
Well,
about just, looking back at the 5 years and all the time that you've been doing the fundraising, the various things, including the calendar and all the very innovative things that you did to raise money.
yeah, I'm available. Whoop.
Okay, I'll contact you.
Reach out to me. I'll be happy to help out.
And the photos are available somewhere, photos that were taken professionally?
Yeah, Jerry Klimek, who's on our committee, is a wonderful photographer, has lots of photos.
Okay.
of-
Right. Sounds good. Should be good.
We'll look forward to that one.
Great, that's very nice.
Does anyone have anything else tonight? Well,
Oh, well, we do want to talk about, for tonight, so I guess I would bring up the idea that we would like to do some kind of a more official ceremony, ribbon cutting, not so grand opening, just in terms of limiting the numbers, but figuring really the sooner the better in May, sometime in May. So I talked to Karen and Jim Boudreau and the library, actually, because they did it, and the safety complex, of course, they did it. So originally I thought maybe it needed to be on a Saturday, but really everybody else has done it on a weekday morning. So that's great. I mean, that works for us. I was just worried about the community, but it's really a little bit more of an official, ceremony. And of course it could be videotaped, and people that didn't want to even come out for it or were concerned about the numbers gathering, but at least it could be outdoors. So we just have to wait a little bit to see what the scoop is with the landscaping and how many people can sort of be on the property easily. We can open up the doors to the multipurpose room, but we'd want to do invitations to some of the dignitaries, of course, the town, local, and politicians for the region or the state, I guess. So that's just something I thought I'd throw out and see what any other opinions might be regarding that. I certainly could enlist your help and the help of Foss to kind of pull that off. And then
I
just
would
maybe
also
just
just
going,
suggest that you, just a thought to invite at least the president of the South Shore Chamber of Commerce, which
Yeah, we can-
encompasses 27 communities, and
oh,
they
South
are
Shore
doing-
Chamber of Commerce.
yeah, they're doing a lot of stuff. I mean, I know him, I've met, his name is Peter Foreman. But I would definitely engage the South Shore Chamber. They're one of the largest chambers in the state. They're pretty powerful. And
Why don't you, if you don't mind, why don't you send me an email with that information, just so that we
Okay,
can start
I
to
will.
collect for an invitation list or
okay.
So Linda, will there be a symbolic ribbon cutting?
I think that would definitely be appropriate.
Yeah.
Yes, we would love that. And certainly our architect and, the different people who've worked on it all the way through in all capacities. So, and even inviting people that were formerly employed, the old directors, town administrator, it's been a long time. That
Very
they're
long
former
time.
Selectmen, you know what I mean? There's a lot of people who we want to thank or we want to see.
I mean, when the chamber does this, they actually do an actual ribbon cutting. They bring ribbon and a scissors.
Well,
It's pretty
that's
cool.
why I think we should kind of do it sooner than later. If we're going to
Yeah.
start inviting people in, we need to have it sort of officially been done so that.
Do you need like
it's
a
not-
little ad hoc committee to get it off the ground quickly?
That could, yes. So if anyone has any suggestions for it, great. But if we want to see if anyone's interested in being on that committee, then we could start there. Yep. And hook you up with sort of also some FOSS members.
Yeah, Pat, you're Axel, because Kevin and I did the library, it's the devil's in the details, and you think it's like, oh, it's no big deal, but it's like even if you keep it small, it would be really helpful just to have a dedicated group of people just figuring it out. And it's just logistics. It's nothing really hard, but you just got to have someone running the show. So, Jim, I forgot to mention that I did want to note that in the town video updates, Jim is mentioning that the senior center is open by appointment. That's the messaging he's using, is so that people don't just show up because, as he said, you don't want to show up and be said, building's full, COVID rules. So,
Right,
you know,
right. That is
people-
helpful. That is.
yeah, so
definitely-
that's the messaging. People are like, call, we're here to help,
Yeah,
but you need an appointment. So I forgot to mention that.
that's better
Good.
for now. So yes, if you're interested, Pat, or if anyone else is, let me know and we'll start to talk about it, or I'll include you in, what we're doing.
Linda, this
Thank
is Elaine. I'm sure that we will get FOSS representation to help with the,
Yes.
I don't have a name for you, but I will have that for you within a couple of days.
Okay, super, great. I figured somebody would want to.
Yeah, definitely.
Great. Any other
We
issues?
can have Father Matthew and Father Anthony bless the building. That's what they're gonna start doing. They just announced that at Easter Vigil, that they're gonna start blessing homes and buildings.
Okay,
Just a thought.
can't hurt. I would like
Any
that,
help we can get?
yeah.
Any other comments, issues, business, old, new? Well, appreciate you all and your time. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
I move that we adjourn the meeting.
I second it.
And second, Pat, very good. Thank you all for
All right,
coming out tonight. Stay
that was
safe.
great.